It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience so far, unless I get to do it again.
I saw a short promo you made yourself.
Well, when I made that thing, that was early on, before any of the music was completed. It had one little piece of music that I recorded before, which they're going to actually perform now. It wasn't the case at the time, but then it turned out to be. I had some pictures of the NNO, and I just spliced it together.
Ik had al heel lang een idee om iets met Dweezil Zappa te doen, maar ik wist helemaal niet wat. En ik ken hem al heel erg lang, omdat ik een bepaalde relatie tot zijn vader had. Die kende ik. En ja, ik dacht, wat kunnen we nou doen? Hij speelt de muziek van Frank Zappa, heel goed. Hij heeft zijn eigen muziek. Hoe maak ik een vertaalslag naar een nieuw project? En eigenlijk is het de samenwerking met het NNO geweest die mij op het idee bracht om te zeggen, na de projecten met Steve Vai, Todd Rundgren, Laurie Anderson, waarom halen we Dweezil er niet bij?
I had heard of the NNO before from some of the things that Co had done and things that Steve Vai had done. So I knew it was obviously a very good orchestra, but my own experience for writing music for an orchestra was very, very limited. I had done some music that was for some film score type of things for small projects, and I had done a little bit of recording with some quartets and things like that, but this was a rather large undertaking. You know, when you think of 100 people working on anything, let alone music, where everybody has to find the downbeat at the same time, you know, there's a lot of energy that goes into this thing, and so it was an exciting idea to be able to compose music for an army of musicians.
Hij is heel goed bevriend met Steve Vai. En die praten veel met elkaar. En hij wist van Steve's ervaringen bij het NNO. Dus toen ik zei van, er is een mogelijkheid om met het NNO te werken, ja, dat vond hij geweldig.
When Co was talking to me about presenting this evening of orchestral music, my own music, some of my dad's music, he also mentioned why not throw in a piece by Steve Vai. It seemed like a perfectly good fit because there's this thematic coherence and continuity between all of these elements. And Steve Vai's music has some influence of my dad's music. So again, it's just an evening for people that want to hear new music and music arranged for orchestra that is different than your traditional stuff.
Toen hebben we in overleg, Marcel Manders en ik, een programma bedacht waarbij we Frank Zappa centraal stellen als componist. Aandacht hebben voor het verleden van Frank, wat heeft hem beïnvloed. Wie zijn er door hem beïnvloed, vandaar het stuk van Steve Vai. En Dweezil presenteren in een andere vorm dan mensen hem gewend zijn, namelijk met een band op een poppodium. Maar nu in de wereld van de orkestmuziek.
Having only attended concerts of orchestral music and knowing that feeling of being enveloped by the sound, because the acoustic instruments have their own sound, you know, the air really is moving around you, and it's very different than the amplified electric shows that I'm used to performing in, and so it'll be great to be in the middle of all of that sound, you know, because when you turn your head, you're hearing an actual instrument and people manipulating this thing. It's not so much just coming out of a source of a speaker, you know, your ears really fill in all the space. So that three-dimensional kind of experience is something I look forward to. I definitely, in my own work, try to do some things that stretch the limits of what can be done with the piece of music. I mean, there's stuff that's colliding from either side of the stage. I try to make it more like almost a surround sound experience.
De bewerkingen van zijn al bestaande stukken zijn natuurlijk eigenlijk ook een soort première in de orkestversie. Dat zijn een aantal stukken van zijn reguliere cd's, maar dan in een orkestbewerking door Tom Trapp gemaakt. De echte gloednieuwe wereldpremière, als dat goed Nederlands is een stuk dat heet The Adventures of Dindu. Die titel is trouwens net bedacht door hem. En dat is een stuk van 1 minuut of 12 voor volledig orkest, wat echt helemaal nieuw is en speciaal geschreven voor het NNO en voor deze 2 concerten.
It's almost like an audio movie. I mean, you feel like you're going through a bunch of different scenes. There's a theme that begins and then it changes many times until it gets to the ending. But it's there and it just keeps morphing. So the piece really just sort of came about quite by accident, because when Ko said, hey, do you want to write some music for this thing? I had to get to work, you know. So the thing about it is the way that I compose, I normally play guitar, but in the case of writing for the orchestra, I didn't do any of it by playing the guitar. I did it all on the computer, and it'll sound a little strange, but my process is, if you look at music, it has all these shapes, it's all contours. And so what I did was I set about working on the computer by first just typing in a string of notes and then drawing contours until it sounded like something I liked. And then I just shaped the whole piece that way.
De grote orkestwerken van Frank die op het programma staan, van Frank Zappa, die zijn nog nooit in die vorm in Nederland uitgevoerd. Dus dat zijn Nederlandse premières.
So a night of music that has some of his music, some of my own music, a piece by Steve Vai. There's a lot of variety in this evening that's being presented by the NNO. And I think it's going to be a really exciting opportunity for people to hear modern classical music with a few twists.